Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrand. I am joined, as always, by my friend, my colleague, my co-host of many years. He is a 33-time defending life champion. A gentleman by the name of Dan Rubenstein out there. And now, Southern California. Sir, how are you?
It's your birthday, so I know you want to ride out.
That's how I am, Ty. So I couldn't find it in my soul to read those lyrics out loud to you because they are erotically charged.
Yeah.
But Ty, happy birthday.
Thank you.
We're recording on Ty's birthday.
Literally
day
my
before
birthday.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It is your literal birthday. I'm afraid to ask how old you are, so I'll just let people use their imaginations because Ty, as everybody knows, is forever young.
Sure.
So, I'm doing pretty well. Southern California is excellent. It's 70 degrees and sunny. You will have to pry me from this area of the world with my cold, dead fingers just grabbing onto the whatever it is, what's it called? The jetway.
Yep.
It's gonna be very tough for me to leave this, but everything is good. The lady friend and her family are out here for Thanksgiving.
Whoa, that's a big commitment.
Big move. Well,
Whoa.
you know, you give somebody some hardware and all the commitments fly in.
Yeah, I know how it is. Okay. Well,
so everything's great, Ty. Life is in a really wonderful place.
well, thank you. And it is here as well. It's Rivalry Week, right?
It's Rivalry Week.
How could it not be a great state of affairs right now? It's also going to be Thanksgiving, as Dan mentioned, here in the United States. We have a lot of international listeners, but going to be Turkey Day here very shortly. So, you know, whether you're with us in the car or the plane, the bus, the train, wherever, we are ever so thankful for your support. We wish you a happy holiday this week. Okay, we've got a great week of games here, Dan. As you know, we've been doing this for a long time. Rivalry Week can be a funny duck. It is inevitable.
I don't like that phrasing.
Well, it can be a funny duck. It's inevitable that we're going to see some weird upsets and maybe not ones that influence the playoff picture per se. Right. But it's going to happen because it always does. And that's part of the reason why it makes it so fun to do this show. I took off from work today just to do this show.
Wow.
I'm all jazzed up for the show. I got all my list here of rivalries. Even if we don't cover all of them, we'll do our best to at least mention the biggest ones here on the slate. So unless you've got any other primer information, let's just jump right in.
Let's go.
We have breaking news!
Boop, 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 boop. Maybe we do. Boop, 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 boop.
We've got updated playoff rankings, Dan, and lo and behold, they pretty much stay the same. We've got top four that remained unchanged: Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. Then at number 5, we've got Washington, followed by Wisconsin, Penn State. We've also got Oklahoma in there, Colorado checking in at number 9. Any surprises here? Anything jump out?
West Virginia fell as to be expected. Florida made a move in a big way.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I mean, it's inconsequential as it relates to the playoff, as Florida's a 2-loss team that just has not looked all that good, but they're up to number 15. And if Florida, as they're constituted right now, with just everybody beat up and playing Austin Appleby, if that's the 15th best team we have to offer this season, it's a bad year. It's a bad year.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway here, Dan, is, you know, if Washington wins out, they're probably in. Mm-hmm. If they don't, then it gets interesting, because then we're potentially debating the merits of Wisconsin or Penn State, Oklahoma, maybe even Colorado, as you mentioned on our last show. That's when things start to get interesting. We're going to get into the Apple Cup and talk about some of the scenarios as they are presently setting up as we go through all these rivalries. But for the most part, not much change at the top for updated playoff rankings. Some other news here, as you mentioned before we hit record, we're really in no position to speak with any great authority on the state of employment throughout the coaching world, because we thought Charlie Strong was fired, and now we've been seeing stories that maybe he's not. If you're Charlie Strong, or if you're a Texas player or fan, any way you shake it, this is death by 1,000 paper cuts, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like it's 44 middle-aged dudes in the greater Austin or Texas area swinging their something, swinging their manhood, Ty.
Yeah.
Swinging their manhood, trying to get sort of exert influence on the situation. So Texas is getting in the way of Texas, which is, it's the surest thing in college football. It is the surest thing. So who knows what's going to happen in Austin. There is some smoke to Chad Morris, the SMU head coach, going to Baylor, but certainly nothing is finalized at the time of this recording. And there's the continuous rumors about LSU and Oregon and all sorts of jobs that might open up because of those perhaps openings, or LSU is open. But we're in no position to say this is what's happening right now for sure when nothing has happened. So use your imagination, and your favorite school is probably going to get their dream candidate.
I just feel like if I were a Texas fan, I'd be like, Jesus, just get this damn thing over with already.
Yeah.
One way or the other, let us know what's going on. God, if you're Charlie Strong, he probably knows more than the rest of us, I would hope at this point. But I would expect we'll find out soon enough where Charlie Strong stands and if they're going to make a move. But suffice to say, it's taken a while to get any real clarity here. The other thing that I will mention quickly, because it broke yesterday, Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They're having wins vacated, at least as of now, from 2012 and 2013. It pertains to some improprieties that occurred with a student trainer. Notre Dame is levied with a giant $5,000 fine in addition to having to vacate these wins. It's not going to affect the football program moving forward. The issue here, at least as I see it, is one of reputation. They're pulling away wins from squeaky clean Notre Dame for 2 years. Notre Dame, for its part, is going to fight back and appeal as best they can, but sort of dubious that they were able to fly under the radar all this time. Nothing leaked out that they were going through this process. Now, as it were, it looks like they're going to have to give up some wins. Personally, I don't really care. You vacate wins. It's always been like a silly thing to me, whether or not it counts. It doesn't. Who cares? The only real note from our standpoint, I think, is that the game that I slept through, the national
Notre Dame,
championship
Alabama.
game,
Yeah.
perhaps even if they had won, it wouldn't have counted, therefore vindicating me. No longer do I feel bad about sleeping through that game.
So I'm so confused because Notre Dame people for so long have said, no, our guys are actual student athletes. They're like the actual students. I'm confused how something like this could happen at such an institution that is so far and above and beyond everybody else. They have the real student athletes. They make them go to school, Ty.
I understand the motivation behind all the jokes I'm seeing on Twitter. I get it. I totally get it. And you're talking about vacating wins at squeaky clean Notre Dame. Yeah, I get it. It's fine. It's fine as long as it doesn't affect the football program moving forward.
It didn't involve Corey Robinson, student body president. Oh, whew.
No.
The real student athlete.
We're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little unbalanced given they're still looking into North Carolina and they had cheating going on for like 17 years, but
sure, I
would expect at some point perhaps the appeals process can sort all that out. Whatever, as long as it doesn't affect the program moving forward, I'm fine as a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else?
No, I'm very excited to see how the big Bleacher Report social media Notre Dame thing gets behind the scenes on all the academic goodness in Notre Dame. It's going to be crazy.
Shut up.
So many likes.
Shut up.
Time. Help. I need picks of the week.
It is Rivalry Week, baby.
Yeah.
Rivalry Week.
What do we do, Ty? I'm stretching my back here. I'm getting ready. Ty, I don't want to throw out my back. I do not. You lift from the knees. You see all these records, Ty? We got a lot of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I'm getting real close to the microphone here.
Oh, I'm here right there with you.
I want you, I don't know if you're in the car or if you're in the plane, if you're just sitting
mowing
inside,
your lawn.
Sitting inside the house, mowing your lawn, whatever you're doing, stop for a second, pause. Pause the podcast if you have to.
Put the dumbbells down.
Be safe. On the count of 3, we are going to throw them out. Are you ready?
Okay. So cathartic, Ty.
1, 2, 3. Throw out those records. It is Rivalry Week, baby. We got a bunch of big games here to discuss. And let's start with the game. So it is called Saturday, high noon on ABC. It is at Ohio State. The Buckeyes are a 6.5-point favorite over their hated rival, the Michigan Wolverines, Dan.
Yes.
This year, the game, as they call it, it is a playoff quarterfinal because the winner is going to have a chance to play for the national championship and maybe even a Big Ten championship, depending how it goes.
Yeah.
It's a weird circumstance in that sense. Potentially a beneficial one if Penn State ends up winning.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just right off the bat, I got to say, with a rivalry game like Ohio State and Michigan, and a lot of people may not understand this, but it just means more here. It just means more here. So we've got the best Big Ten offense in Ohio State, even with their recent struggles. The Ohio State, when they're playing to full capacity and their full potential, they can move the ball, unlike any other Big Ten team. I think that's fair to say. And Michigan is the best defense in the league, and they are one of probably the best 2 or 3 defenses in the country. So we have the dominant force against the immovable object, et cetera, et cetera. Ohio State is a little bit more beat up overall, but Wilton Spate is the big name. Will he or won't he? Jim Harbaugh he said he practiced, right? Which is just kind of a garbage statement, but whatever. Both have been decent at running the ball. Ohio State has done it in more creative ways. And as we saw, Michigan's offense can be pretty stagnant with John O'Korn. As athletic and interesting as he can be at times, they did not look like what they have looked like under Wilton Spate, at least against some of the more average teams. Both are great in the red zone. I'm going to take the points with a defense this good and with Ohio State having the propensity to struggle against better defenses. I still think Ohio State wins this game. I think Michigan barely covers. I have this game at 20-14.
20-14. Yeah. That feels about right. By the way, I got to mention this while we're talking about Michigan. I made a bit of a mistake. On our last show, when I recapped the Michigan-Indiana game, I screwed up the chronology of events and misread my own notes. I watched the whole damn game.
Right.
I heard about it. Michigan people are sensitive about the chronology of events, how their wins occur. So I do apologize to all the fine Michigan brethren out there. I'm going to be blunt regarding this game, whether it's Wilton Spate, who we thought was done for the year, but apparently not. Whether it's him, whether it's John O'Korn, Michigan's not going to win this game if they get another 59-yard passing day like last week.
Right.
It's just not going to happen because a one-dimensional offense isn't good enough to beat Ohio State. You got to throw them some variability. Jim Harbaugh knows that if we know it. So I'm curious to see what we get here. If it's Wilton Spate, then I think it's more of what we've seen all year. But if he can't go, like I said last week, are we going to see some read option with Jabril Peppers? Are we going to see some trick plays? It's all got to be on the table.
I would assume so.
I like Ohio State more, just in general. I think they've got the better offense. As you mentioned, it's a multi-dimensional offense, and certainly more reasons to like it. But it's a two-way street here. And like you said, there have been questions all year about JT Barrett throwing the ball. And last week, like a prime example, Urban Meyer's not going to get away with being one-dimensional. It's not going to work for him either because Michigan's defense is so good. So my initial read was Ohio State minus the points because I don't think Michigan's offense is going to have a whole lot of success. So, as we've done on the show,
if every instinct you have is wrong, then the opposite would have to be right.
We're going to go opposite. It's been working out for me. I'm going to say let's focus on the Michigan defense. Let's focus on their ability to keep it close, maybe make a play on a punt return or something. Maybe turn over JT Barrett on offense, maybe break a big run here or there. Who knows? I think both teams play it super close. I think both teams try to win with defense. I think Ohio State has enough on offense to find a way to win the game. But I think it's close. And I'm going to do it because it's been my little pet project all year.
Nice.
Ohio State wins an oddly scored game 19-16.
19-16, so close. And something that should be watched out for. Michigan's defense is really good, but defenses are only as good as the time that they can rest and the time that their own offense gives them. And that's the concern with John O'Korn, is that Michigan 3-and-outs will make Michigan's defense suffer. And I'd be worried about that a little bit.
All right. Another big one, Saturday, 3:30, CBS. Alabama at home, a 17-point favorite. They call this one the Iron Bowl, Dan. The Iron Bowl.
They do call it.
It's a great matchup this year, I think, of strength against strength, right? Because Auburn likes to run, and obviously they like to run. They're a Gus Malzahn team. Alabama happens to excel at stopping the run. So this is a healthy point spread. We've got 17, which is super meaty, even meatier than your Thanksgiving turkey. I desperately want to take the points. Desperately want to take the points here.
So do it.
But I'm another year older, another year wiser today, Mr. Rubenstein.
Yep.
We have learned a thing or two since we started doing this show 9 seasons ago, have we not?
Disagree. We have learned very little.
It's debatable, right?
Yeah.
I say sometimes you just need to gaze at a point spread. You need to look at it as if it were a fine piece of art. Mr. 17 points. I have no idea how you were created. I have no idea what kind of inner dialogue your creators had when they put you on the board. But it don't matter. This is Alabama. I go Alabama minus anything here.
No, I don't think that's a wrong way to think. And first of all, before we get into this game further, this is the Iron Bowl, and as everybody knows, it just means more here. So the 17.5 points seem like a lot. It would seem like a lot if Sean White were healthy. We don't know if Sean White's going to play. We definitely know what Auburn will look like against Alabama's defense if Sean White doesn't play, and that's going to be bad. I mean, there could be a situation where Gus Malzahn sort of revamps the offense in a week and has some crazy looks that Alabama's not ready for, but yeah, my gut says take Auburn. Auburn's more beat up than Alabama is on defense. Auburn is atrocious offensively without a healthy Sean White. Both of these teams are great in the red zone, as we saw Alabama against LSU, as we've seen with Auburn all season long. I just don't think that's going to be enough for Auburn to keep it close. My initial gut says Alabama 23-10, so that involves taking Auburn points, but with the threat of Sean White not playing or playing at like 40%, which you assume he's going to want to do everything to play in the Iron Bowl, I'm just not a big fan. So I'm going to as well bow down to the 17.5 points. And in my confusion, I'm just going to take it. So I have Alabama 28-10 barely covering.
Like a fine piece of art, man.
Yep.
I don't know how it got here. I don't know the genesis behind the 17-point spread. But I do know that relative to its competition, Alabama is one of the best teams I've ever seen.
Yep.
They really are. There truly is a gap between 1 and 2.
We know what Alabama looks like against a defense firing on all cylinders at a super high level that's as talented as it could possibly be. And Auburn isn't quite at LSU's level, I don't think, in terms of talent and ability and health, but they can play at a super high level. And we know how many points it would take to beat an Alabama offense that is playing against such a defense. And I would say Alabama, if they're completely shut down by Auburn's defense, they're probably scoring, I don't think they're going to be held to 10 like LSU, but let's call it 14, 17 points.
Yeah.
A beat up,
I agree.
An Auburn offense, though, against Alabama defense with a beat up Sean White at best, I just don't see him scoring 20 points. I just don't.
They can beat you with the run. They can beat you with the pass. And that's just Jalen Hurts. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a whole offense around him, and defensively, they can put 8 in the box and come away just fine if Auburn decides they want to pass. So I just think they're physically, schematically dominant here. They're going to win the national championship a month and a half from now.
You want to lock it up, Ty?
Sure. Why not? Where's
Okay.
my lock sound here?
Lock of the week.
I'll lock it up now. I don't care if I'm wrong. That's fine too.
Okay.
I think it starts off close. I think Bama pulls away. A true crock potting here against their hated rival. Let's say Alabama wins 38-17.
That's
Big
a core principle of the solid verbal. If we're wrong, that's fine.
Yeah, especially in a year where neither of
Yeah.
our teams matters.
Right. Exactly.
Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It's on Fox. They called this one the Rumble in the Rockies. Did you know? Do you know that?
I did not know that, and I just learned it.
I looked it up. I found it on Wikipedia. Colorado at home, a 10-point favorite against Utah. The Rumble in the Rockies.
Yeah.
Sounds like a WCW Tuesday night special.
Mountain Mayhem, Snow Cap Survival. I don't know.
Does this one mean more, or does it just mean the requisite amount?
Okay, so a lot of people don't know this, but Colorado and Utah come into the Pac-12 at the same time. Utah has played really well these past few years. Colorado has played exceptionally well this year after improving for the past couple seasons. So a lot of people don't realize it because it's in the mountain region. They're playing at altitude.
Yeah.
It just means more here.
These teams are literally brothers from another mother.
That's true.
So, okay, monster game here for Colorado. If they win, they're into the Pac-12 championship, which would be a huge accomplishment. We've highlighted all year. This would give them an outside shot at the playoffs, really. Playoffs? Who the hell knows? All right,
Absolutely.
depends what happens with Washington. They could meet Washington here. They could beat them. This is a big deal. A big deal any way you shake it. First read here was to go Utah, because 10 points is a really healthy line for Utah, especially in a game where you got two really good defenses. But then I look a little closer, and I think the misnomer here is that Utah has a really good defense. I mean, it's good up front, but on the whole, kind of statistically average, don't you think?
Absolutely. They have one of the best 5 defensive ends in college football in Hunter Dimick, and they get to the quarterback really, really well. But statistically speaking, throwing into the Utah secondary, which a number of teams have done very successfully, is about throwing into the Rutgers secondary.
Yeah.
Which is, I understand, a very cruel thing to say for both parties, for both Rutgers and Utah. But yes, this is a down year for Utah in a number of ways, in ways that we haven't seen under Kyle Whittingham. And it's a bad matchup because Colorado's playing for the Pac-12 South. They're winning, they're in now, and they'll play whoever, either of the Washington schools in the Pac-12 championship game. So there's no letdown potential even with the Washington State game. I guess maybe body blow theory, but Colorado was the more physical and more dominant team of those two teams. Sefo Liufau is operating at an extraordinary dual threat level after what we saw him do last week, and the fact that Colorado has the depth and the level of interesting skill players that they have on offense against this Utah defense that has not been running with anybody all that well offensively. We saw at UCLA. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. UCLA, even though UCLA lost, do against Utah offensively. Utah won this game 20-14. Colorado couldn't really move the ball last year. I think Colorado's 17 points better. I think they cover the spread and sort of coast in that fourth quarter, 34-17.
I can't add anything more.
Okay.
I completely and totally agree. The only thing I will add is that this is the second straight week now where I wanted to go against the Buffaloes. And again, I went back, I looked. I've seen the light. I am a converted Colorado Buffaloes apologist at this point. I trust the defense. I'm feeling bullish more and more with each passing week about the offense. And I can't get it out of my head that a couple weeks back you said that Utah might secretly be garbage.
Yeah, in doing certain things. Joe Williams is the opposite of garbage, our best retiree athletically. And there's talent everywhere on this Utah team, but it's been a down year for them defensively.
Let's jump aboard the Colorado hype train. I'm going to say they win 30-14. I think they make a play at the Pac-12 championship. I think they make a play at the playoff.
What a year.
We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the Apple Cup, but
yes.
Yeah, okay, good for them. Let's see. What else do we got here on Saturday? We're working kind of in reverse order because if you're listening to this on Thanksgiving or even on Wednesday evening, we don't want it to go out of date. So let's start with Saturday as we've been here. Let's talk about some of the bigger games in the Big Ten. We've got two big ones taking place on Saturday at 3:30. The first one is for the Land-Grant Trophy between Michigan State and Penn State. Penn State's at home. They're a 12-point favorite. Our friend Dave Jones, who we've talked to a number of times from the Patriot News in Harrisburg, on his Facebook page, he posted a simple question, and it could not sum up my feelings any better. Quote, is Michigan State a cornered animal or a corpse?
Yeah.
What do you think, Dan?
I think a little bit of each, if I had to guess. Here's the thing with Michigan State. They've played well these past few weeks, largely at home. They keep Ohio State's offense down. They just blow the smithereens out of Rutgers. But Michigan State on the road this season has done nothing. Do you know who they've beaten on the road, Ty?
Notre Dame. If that still counts as a win.
Yeah, no, that's basically it. On the road this year, in the Big Ten, they've lost to Indiana, which is fine. They've lost to Maryland. That's not fine.
No.
They've lost to Illinois. That's not fine. And I think, no, that's it. They beat Notre Dame. That's their road slate this year. So the Ohio State game and the Michigan game, those were both at home and away. At Penn State with a lot on the line. Penn State's offense has been relatively consistent. I think Penn State got blown out in this game last year, right?
Yeah.
With Hack, it was like 55, whoever started at quarterback,
It was a mess.
55 something.
Game was a mess.
Yeah, total mess. I like Penn State here, and as we know, it's the Land-Grant Trophy.
Land-Grant Trophy.
When you've got the Land-Grant Trophy on the line, Ty, it just means more here. So I think I'm going to go with Penn State. There are more ways that they can win offensively. I like how consistent they've been. I'd like Trace McSorley to complete a few more passes and be a little bit more accurate. But other than that, I just don't see Michigan State. I could see them getting up for Ohio State and Michigan at home, but I think they're ready for the season to end. I think Penn State wins here by 3 touchdowns.
I do agree with you. I think last week might have been it for Michigan State. Like 17-16 against Ohio State on the road. To lose that game to play as well as they did and as hard as they did, to now have to go to Happy Valley, to get up 2 weeks in a row on the road, that's tough. That's tough.
Michigan State's offense has been pretty good this year, all things considered.
It's been better. It's gotten better, let's say.
It's gotten better. Michigan State's defense has been the big disappointment, especially with how injured they are up front.
So initial read was to go Michigan State. We'll take Penn State. Minus a 12.
Yeah, I think I was right there with you. I wanted to take Michigan State, but I couldn't defend it.
The other one here that I'll mention very quickly is for Paul Bunyan's axe. Mm-hmm. This game does mean a little bit more, I feel.
This game, people don't realize this. With Paul Bunyan's axe on the line, Minnesota still, having a respectable season. They sort of laid the lumber to Northwestern, and then Wisconsin, who hasn't really pulled away from the decent and better teams in the Big Ten, but Wisconsin has a division championship on the line. You got to think it just means more with Paul Bunyan's axe on the line.
Minnesota at Wisconsin. Yeah. Wisconsin's a 14-point favorite. Nothing sexy about Minnesota, but they're 8-3. All 3 of the games they lost were pretty close. They're not going to wow you with offense, but the numbers are actually kind of interesting.
Against nobody.
They have 32 rushing touchdowns this year. They're probably good enough to hold down Wisconsin because their defense is pretty good. I think they can stop the run here. They absolutely can stop Wisconsin's passing attack because you and I can do that if we pick out 9 other friends. I think this is a win for Wisconsin, but I think it's ugly, and I think it's close. Something like 23-18. A weird score somehow.
Do you know how many touchdown passes Mitch Leidner has thrown since the one he threw against Penn State in a 3-point loss? He's thrown one. He has not thrown a touchdown pass in 5 of his last 6 games. I feel like against a Wisconsin defense that's not going to allow a ton of points, maybe the ability to stretch the field a little bit would come in handy. That said, I think Minnesota keeps it close enough because Wisconsin has struggled offensively somewhat this back half of the season. I'm taking those points. I'm going to gobble up those points. Wisconsin wins by 10, 23-13.
All right. A few other cool rivalries that I'm going to rifle through here, Dan.
Let's get through it.
Give me a little bit of shading, but not too much, okay? Let's talk about, very quickly, the battle for the jeweled shillelagh.
Let's.
Saturday, 3:30. Notre Dame at USC. Game doesn't mean a whole lot for Notre Dame, but means a lot for USC. They're rising in the polls. USC is a 17.5-point favorite, Dan. Who you got?
I'm going to take USC here. Notre Dame's defense has actually been surprisingly stout these past few weeks. There's mental errors that come with Notre Dame special teams, Notre Dame offense. Deshaun Kaiser's been disappointing, and USC is playing at a very high level. I don't think they're going to get too much done offensively, but I don't think Notre Dame is either. I'm going to take USC to barely cover in this game. I'm going to say 35-14 USC, and the big story here is that Notre Dame is playing a true road game.
A true road game, yes. Thank you.
Number 3 of the season.
Does everybody just want to pile on Notre Dame?
Yes, no, that's actually what people want to do.
That's what people want to do?
That's what people love to do.
If I read the internet, that's all people want to do. Are they done? Are they done making the 4-7 jokes yet? The lazy 4-7 jokes?
No, because everybody likes talking about Notre Dame.
So you are authorized now to speak for everybody. You were granted that privilege.
That, Ty. I have literally always been.
Okay. They're about to have a different record, so I hope everyone's run their course with that dumb joke.
Are you ready for 6 months of 4-8, Ty?
Oh,
you ready for that?
I can't wait. USC's a freight train right now.
USC is a freight train.
I feel like Notre Dame and Brian Kelly, and certainly Notre Dame fans, we just kind of want to get it over with, but Notre Dame's lost 7 games by a combined 32 points. I don't think they get blown out. I realize that USC's better, way better than like the other 7 teams they lost to, but Deshaun Kaiser's probable last game here against USC.
Yeah.
Maybe Notre Dame finds some kind of FU mode in light of these recent sanctions or whatever you want to call them, penalties. So I will take the points.
Okay.
I'll take the points here. Why not?
I don't think it's a bad play with the jeweled shillelagh on the line. These 2 big private schools, Ty, you know what it means.
Means more.
It just means more here.
The Palmetto Bowl, Saturday, 7:30, South Carolina at Clemson. Clemson's a 24-point favorite. Clemson on a 2-game winning streak. Before that, South Carolina had won 5 in a row. I'm just going to say this, and I realize it might not be kosher, and I'm sure I'm going to hear this from Clemson fans. Mm-hmm. But I got to be honest on our own show.
Be you.
There would be a word I'd consider bringing out of retirement if Clemson somehow blew this game.
No.
If they blew this game, I would consider it.
Ty, that word is drinking a daiquiri down in Boca Raton, just sort of living out the final days of his or her life. There's one last job. It can't be. We got to get that out of our heads.
I'm just saying, 24-point favorite. They win. They're obviously through to the playoff, provided they don't screw up in the ACC championship. By the way, a losable game looming against Virginia Tech. We'll talk about that next week. But any reason here to think that South Carolina keeps this close?
South Carolina's been fine. South Carolina, I think, has been better than a lot of people expected before the season. The sort of mess that was South Carolina losing to the Citadel last year, and they've been pretty competitive. Beat Tennessee in an impressive performance, but no, with the playoff on the line and, new Texas coach Dabo Swinney really trying to make a statement. I'm going to say Clemson's able to cover this game. I think they win by 30. Something like 42 to 14. That's 28 points. I'm going to go with that. Ty, a rivalry this heated and hated. People don't understand this about the Palmetto Bowl. It just means more here. It just means more. So that's why you should consider South Carolina, but I can't do it.
Another Saturday night game. This is the Fresh by Florida Sunshine Showdown. Florida State's won, 5 of the last 6 here? Mm-hmm. I think they're the better team again. How's Florida State's offensive line? Are they healthy?
Improved. Not super healthy, but improved over the course of the year.
Okay. I like Florida State here. I think it's a test for them, but I like their offense more than I like anything else.
Same. If Florida was a little bit healthier and started a quarterback that wasn't Luke Del Rio or Austin Appleby, I'd like Florida a little bit more to take advantage, but I'm going with the Noles here, 24-14, and with so much talent and so much recruiting on the line in this game, with that state having so much talent, a game like this, if there is a recruit that's between these two schools, it just means more here, Ty.
Let's go to Saturday at high noon, clean old-fashioned hate. Mm-hmm. Georgia Tech at Georgia. The Dogs, a 4-point favorite. I looked at this one. Statistically, it looks across the board to favor Georgia because they should be able to run. Their defense is pretty good against the run. So I'm going to go opposite, and I'm going to take Georgia Tech. I think this is one of those weird games where Tech's flown under the radar all year. They're not bad. They're not great, but they're not bad. I think this one just means more for them, and they went outright on the road.
Yeah, I'm taking Tech as well because my gut was Georgia and Jacob Eason and the Dogs winning by 7 behind good defensive play as well. So I'm going to go opposite of that. I'm just not feeling it. Even in a big, clean, old-fashioned hate game where it just means more, Ty, I'm going Georgia Tech.
Let's go to Saturday at high noon. I quote a Samuel Woodworth poem from 1817. Quote, "The old oaken bucket, the iron-bound bucket, the moss-covered bucket which hung in the well." That's right. It is the Purdue at Indiana rivalry. Indiana's at home. They are a 20.5-point favorite here. You could say it just means more because they've got so much history here and they do play for the old oaken bucket.
Of course. Definitely.
I'm going to go Indiana and lay the points here. Even though Purdue at times has been frisky. They were frisky for about a quarter last week against Wisconsin before Wisconsin pulled away. I like Indiana to win this game going away.
I'm taking Purdue, backed into a corner, ready for the season to be over, but Indiana body blow theory and a bit of a letdown after seeing themselves in striking distance last week against Michigan. So I'm going to take the points. Indiana wins outright. You got to throw those records out, Ty. You got to throw them out with the old oaken bucket on the line. All right,
we're going to go quick. Here through the next 5-6 games. Just got to get them on the record here. The Commonwealth Cup, Saturday, 12 p.m., Virginia at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, an 18.5-point favorite. The story here is that Virginia Tech needs to win. If they win, they are through to the ACC championship game against the Clemson Tigers, which could be, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, a weirdly losable game. Tech's pretty good this year.
Yep, taking the Who's and the points. Virginia Tech wins outright.
I'm going to go Tech minus the points.
Disagree.
Sunflower Showdown. You know what game that is?
I think, is this the Kansas State game?
Kansas State. It's a battle of the Jayhawks and the Wildcats. Wildcats are at home and a 27-point favorite. Dan, Kansas, one of the worst 10 teams in college football, but they beat Texas a week ago. They could have beat TCU earlier this year. Feels like a game with a bunch of runs and short passes. So 27's a lot to cover. Give me the Jayhawks.
Yeah, I'm taking the Jayhawks as well. I agree. And there's so much hatred in this game as well. That's why people do not realize that a game like this, Ty, it just means more Kansas gets up to play.
The Land of Lincoln Trophy Saturday, high noon, Illinois at Northwestern. Northwestern, a 16.5-point favorite. Of note, Illinois hasn't been anywhere close to anyone that's been decent on their schedule all year. So I'm going to lay the points.
I'm going to lay the points as well, and this game does not mean more.
Governor's Cup between Kentucky and Louisville. Louisville favored by 26. Feels like a kind of game where they're either going to pack it in and lose outright or win this game by 150.
Yeah, it's a bad matchup for Kentucky. They've been so underwhelming defensively this past month, and Louisville, I think, trying to make a big Heisman statement late for Lamar Jackson. I think if they have the opportunity to keep him in a blowout, they're going to do it. So I'm going to take Louisville here by 35. And yes, these two fan bases hate each other, and it means so much more here.
My favorite rivalry name for a game is the Egg Bowl. It is Saturday at 3:30. Mississippi State traveling to Ole Miss. Ole Miss at home with Shea Patterson. They are a 7.5-point favorite. Line feels low to me. Mississippi State hasn't been that great this year. That is my cue to go Mississippi State and hitch my wagon to Nick Fitzgerald. So give me the points.
Yep, bowl eligibility on the line. So yes, this game means so much more here. So I'm going to go with Ole Miss. I'm going to lay the points because it is a particularly bad matchup for Mississippi State and how they play the pass. Ole Miss wins by 13, 33-20.
Saturday, 7:30. This game doesn't have a name, at least to my knowledge, but Tennessee minus 7.5 on the road at Vandy. Second week in a row. Let's just do this.
The Yakos, home dog of the week.
7.5 is conspicuously low, and I enjoyed so much rooting for Vandy a week ago that I'm going to make them home dog of the week, and I want the points. Give me the points against Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm going Vandy as well. I'm going to take the points. I don't know if they win outright, but I love watching Ralph Webb, and I hope, Zach, you ready for this, Ty? You're going to please boo me. Zach is going to go Cunningham. You see what? Okay.
Little food reference there for all y'all.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, I think Vandy covers this game.
Good for you.
You know, Ty, even with the down Vandy program until Derek Mason got there, well, that's not fully true, but I think it does. It means more here.
All right. And then finally, we do have one other game on Saturday. I know it's of particular interest to you.
What do we got?
We do call it the Civil War. Even though it's our shootout sound, they call it the Civil War. Oregon, a 3-point road favorite at Oregon State. Who you got?
I'm going to take the Beavs. Bad matchup for Oregon, and Oregon does not stop the run. They're super beat up on defense, Oregon State, and this is insane to say out loud on the airwaves as a broadcaster. Oregon State runs the ball better than Oregon does.
Whoa.
Yes. Oregon State has run the ball against Pac-12 teams at a better rate than Oregon, who has done it every year for the past 37 years, better than everybody. It's a bad matchup. I'm going to go with Oregon State here to win by a touchdown. 31-24. Yeah.
I'm going to go Oregon State as well. Now, before we travel back in time, got to pay the bills here, Dan.
Let's do it.
As you know, holiday shopping is on the horizon. You should have started already if you haven't, but we got you covered. We know it can be tough. Thanks to MVMT watches, all that anxiety of giving gifts, it can disappear with a press of a button. These watches, the one that I now have on my wrist, I'm looking at it right now, they make a perfect gift idea for just about anyone in your life. They start at only $95, which is a pretty good rate for a neat watch. You heard us talk about them before. Go on, get yourself one if you're not going to buy one for somebody else. Finish off your holiday shopping in style. Buy an MVMT watch for somebody. They start at just $95 at a department store. You try to buy a timepiece such as this, Dan. You're looking spending like $400 or $500. A lot for your money right here.
Absolutely, it is.
Movement, the name of the company, they figured out that they can sell online. They can cut out the middleman. They can bring down the markup, and they can give you the best possible price. That's what they do. It's a classic design, quality construction, styled minimalism, and true story, you wear this on your wrist. Dan Rubenstein, you'll attest to this. You get compliments.
Absolutely. I've gotten many.
People see it, and they're like, all right, I want to be part of this movement. I want to be part of the movement. Over 500,000 watches sold in over 160 countries. Here is the way this works. Go to mvmtwatches.com/solid. You'll get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns.
Wow.
So buy the watch. If you don't like it, return it. It's free. It's got a clean design. We've both gotten compliments since we put them on. Now is the time. Step up your watch game. mvmtwatches.com/solid. 15% off, free shipping, free returns. Join the movement, Dan.
I'm ready.
Okay. We got to travel back in time to Friday. Call this one the Apple Cup, do they not?
Mm-hmm. They do indeed.
Friday, 3:30 on Fox. The Washington Huskies on the road in Pullman. A 6-point road favorite, Dan. This is a big game. This is a big game. If you told me at the start of the year that the Apple Cup will be giving us vapors the way it's giving us vapors, I would have told you you're crazy.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'm tempting fate a little bit here, but like the Oklahoma game from a week ago, I have a very strong urge to stick with my gut here, and I'm going to do it.
Okay.
I think that Washington State is an awesome story this year. They started out 0-2.
Wonderful.
It looked like things might come off the swivel, but Mike Leach held it together. The defense has gotten better. They've gotten better at using the running game. Luke Falk is completing 72% of his passes. 36 touchdowns? Are you kidding me? All that stuff that they have done is amazing. Which is why it may alarm you when I say this, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
It is a giant freaking mirage.
Wow.
It is.
Why?
With the exception of that big win over Stanford at the beginning of October, Idaho, Oregon, UCLA, Arizona State, Oregon State, Arizona, and Cal. Whee!
I thought you were going to end with whee!
It is weak. I'm not sold. I couldn't be less sold here. I think Jake Browning has a monster day. I think Washington takes the Cougars to the woodshed. I think the Huskies win big, 49-17. Lock it up.
Lock of the week.
I'm all in on the Huskies this week, Dan.
I disagree.
Whoa.
Yeah, I like Washington State at home a lot more than I like Washington State on the road. If you're going to talk about resumes, the back half of Washington's season against the two decent teams that they've played. What has Washington done this back half of the season in the Pac-12? They lost one of them, and they barely won one of them at Utah. Washington on the road, a bit of a different team against the better teams on their schedule, which is basically those two teams. Stanford was at home, and it was really impressive. That was a different Stanford team. Cannot take that away from Washington. A great performance. But right now, with how Washington's been playing against the better teams, at Wazoo, a tough place to play in a rivalry game. I don't know do you know what the weather's going to be like? I don't have that in front of me. But you know what? I've been in the Pacific Northwest in late November. It's probably not going to be great. I'm going to go with Wazoo here. I don't know that they win outright, but I think it's a final possession game or an overtime type game. So 3-point game either way. I'm taking those points, doing it happily, and lock it up for me.
Whoa!
Lock of the week.
Got a little bit of a duel going on here. Dueling locks.
Love it. Absolutely.
Okay, right in. solidverbal@gmail.com. On the Twitter at solidverbal and Facebook /solidverbal. Let us know who you're picking here.
Let me just jump in while we're promoting stuff. Our friends at Cotton Bureau, it's spelled like it sounds, COTTONBUREAU.com. We released our shirts, the shirts that we just released before for a limited time. I think it's 6 more days from Wednesday. So you have through the weekend. If you want that sweet Solid Verbal shirt, cottonbureau.com.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to mention while I am promoting things, the Pick'em pool. It's coming down to the nitty gritty right now. And this week, I figured I'd make it interesting. It's rivalry week, so it should mean a little bit more. I put 20 games on the slate instead of the normal 10.
Right.
So every game counts, Dan. Just remember.
Every game counts. So what else do we have to burn through?
On Friday, a couple other games to discuss here. The Nebraska-Iowa game. It's for the Heroes Trophy, which they invented a couple years ago. Nice name for a trophy. Sure. Nebraska on the road at Iowa. I like Iowa here.
I think this is the game I'm most looking forward to not watching. That has teams that are decent enough. I mean, there are bad games with bad teams, but in terms of games where it's like, they've had interesting seasons and beaten some interesting teams. Yeah, I could not watch this game if you paid me to. I'm going to go Iowa. Sure, why not?
The Territorial Cup. Talk about a Friday news dump. We've got Arizona State -3 on the road at Arizona. Two of the worst teams in the Pac-12 on the same field, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go Arizona State. Arizona's been awful. Awful.
You know how, I don't know if newspapers still do this, but the USA Today, national papers that would have a deadline of midnight for scores. And if the game went later on the West Coast, it would say UCLA, USC, late, and there wouldn't be any information.
Yeah.
Even if the Territorial Cup were at noon, I feel like USA Today would print Arizona State at Arizona, late.
Yeah.
Late. Just you can, if you really want to know, you can find out. I'm going ASU.
Elsewhere on Friday, we've got TCU at Texas.
Love Texas.
3-point favorite. You going to go Texas here?
Love Texas by 2 touchdowns.
If they win this game, they get to 6-6, right?
That sounds, good for them. Oops.
Playing for Charlie Strong's job, perhaps.
Yeah.
Friday, 5 p.m., we've got Toledo, the Rockets, on the road against the Western Michigan Broncos. The reason we're mentioning this is because if Western Michigan wins, they go undefeated. Undefeated regular season. They are a 9-point favorite here. I'm going to go Broncos.
I would also say the reason we're mentioning it is because it's a hell of a good game, Ty.
It is a good game.
Toledo's got arguably the best quarterback in the MAC in Logan Woodside. Western has their own really good quarterback in Zach Terrell, who knows? But Western Michigan, really good defensively. Toledo, sort of questionable defensively. I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout. So I'm going to take those dang points, Ty. I'm going to take the Rockets, but Western wins outright.
And then finally on Friday, this is a nooner, I believe. Yes. Mm-hmm. North Carolina State on the road at North Carolina. The Tar Heels are a 12-point favorite, Dan. It came off the swivel this year for Dave Duran at NC State. I'm going to go NC State here plus the points.
I'm going to take Carolina. I think it's called the Carolina State game.
Okay.
I'm going to go with North Carolina. I think they win by a couple touchdowns. NC State, as you're sort of alluding to, it's not been a good back half of the season for the Wolfpack. So UNC by 14.
And then, if you'd indulge me one more time, Dan, can we travel back in time once more?
We might accidentally change history by doing this one more time. So I don't know.
Can I have the sound, please? Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We've got LSU -6.5 on the road at Texas A&M. This is a game that, honestly, I feel like the storyline changed 18 different times from start to finish of the season. There was definitely a point this year where it felt like this would be an absolute monster game to close out the season with.
Yeah.
That is not the case.
No.
LSU is going to be looking for a new coach. Texas A&M's without their star quarterback, and the season's come apart a little bit, certainly on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I don't have a strong inclination one way or the other in this game. I can't help but fight the feeling that A&M's quitting a little bit, especially on the defensive side. And with LSU's rushing attack, even if that's all they have, their defense should be good enough to hold down A&M's offense with a backup quarterback. And regardless of who they trot out there at running back, they should be able to move the ball pretty effectively. So 6.5, albeit a road game, I'm willing to lay those points here and go LSU.
Yeah, as am I. Texas A&M improved their defense under John Chavis these past couple years, from like really, really bad to just exceedingly average. And that's not going to be good enough against LSU. I think they finished the season strong. Texas A&M, one of those teams, because of their injuries on both sides of the ball, highlighted by Trevor Knight's injury. They're ready for the season to be over and hope to survive an off season without too much in the way of drama like last year. I'm going to go with LSU. I think they finished strong for Coach O.
And then finally, Dan, if I could ask one favor. Actually, can I ask you to ask me a favor?
Ty, will you ask me to ask you a favor?
Can you just lay down a little erotic verbiage here so that I can play a sound and intro a big game in the FCS ranks?
Ty, will you drop that sticky, writhing, convulsing, rigid drum and fife?
Rigid?
Rigid. Woo, standing at attention, Ty.
The FCS
what you're about to say.
Playoffs are upon us. The Lehigh Mountain Hawks on the road at New Hampshire, Dan. It is 2 p.m. It is on Saturday, and it is on ESPN3. The winner goes to James Madison. I believe James Madison, the number 4 seed in all of FCS college football. This is a big game here, Dan. We've got my Mountain Hawks leanings, our Patriot League leanings, versus your personal leanings, being so that one Chip Charles Kelly once coached at New Hampshire. Who you got?
Love the Wildcats.
Gonna go Wildcats here.
Oh, love going Wildcats. What is it, Durham, New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Durham, New Hampshire. You just don't walk into the Hornets' nest that is the Wildcat Stadium and walk away with a win. I don't care if you're the Engineers. I don't care if you produced the solid wife, Kate, beautiful and wonderful as she is. I'm going with New Hampshire here.
I am going to go Lehigh. I got to go Lehigh here. I don't know what the point spread is, Dan. I don't care, but I know that Lehigh is scoring points in droves. New Hampshire's not an easy place to play.
It's true.
Not an easy place to play. I looked on StubHub, not a sponsor, by the way, of the Solid Verbal. You know what tickets we're going for this game?
What can we get?
Take a guess. How much do you think a Lehigh at New Hampshire playoff game
is good seat, or just like the get-in price at the top of the Hampshire Dome?
Listen, that's a level of research I was not prepared to provide here.
I think we could get to this game for $25.
I clicked on StubHub to see what tickets we're going for this game. $100.
Wow.
$100.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
High demand.
Highfalutin FCS college football here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you've got big plans for Thanksgiving.
I do.
So I wish you and yours and all the families that are out there a very happy Thanksgiving.
And you as well.
Thank you. I wish the same to everyone out there listening. I hope you enjoyed our show. Please travel safely if you are in the car or if you're going somewhere this holiday weekend. Don't forget to give us a phone call all throughout the weekend. 408-VERBAL-1 is the reverb line. We will reconvene on Sunday to discuss all of this action, talk about what it all means and what records we needed to throw out, which games actually did end up meaning more, so on and so forth. You can also subscribe at itunes.com/solidverbal and find our website at solidverbal.com. Dan, fun show, right?
Absolutely.
I enjoyed this
Ty,
one.
if I can say anything about the Solid Verbal and what it means, it just means more here on the Solid Verbal.
For that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein. For myself, Ty Hildebrand. Thanks again for tuning in. Happy Thanksgiving. Stay solid.
Peace.